Welcome back to another segment of Bella TV. Madison here, and I am joined by a very special guest. Michelle, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Madison.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Michelle. She is president and CEO of Global Down Syndrome Foundation. Would you mind telling me more about yourself and how you got started with this foundation?
Yes, like with a lot of things, it's personal. So 17 years ago, I gave birth to my first child, Sophia. She happens to have Down syndrome. And, I had a prenatal diagnosis, a lot of medical issues. And then I came to realize from the National Institutes of Health that we were one of the least funded genetic conditions. And I'm talking like 14, $16 million a year versus 100, $200 million a year, looking at other intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so we decided with my parents to start the Global Down Syndrome Foundation and focus on research and medical care. And there weren't any nationals really looking at that advocacy here. And so we partner with a lot of the other Down syndrome organizations. And then we have our lane, our focus, which is research and medical care.
Awesome. So could you tell me a little bit about the Be Beautiful, Be Yourself fashion show that's coming up and what people can expect?
Yeah, we're so excited. This year is tough for us because, people with Down syndrome are very high risk. So we've lost a lot of people. And we just came out of a really rough time of losing our Quincy Jones Exceptional Advocacy Award inaugural recipient and ambassador, Deandra Dixon. So, really, how do we get out of that suffering into a place of celebration has been really tough. But we do have two Quincy Jones Award winners, Katerina Scorsone, who was on the cover of People just recently with her baby Pippa and her 4-year-old Pippa. And we also have Mariana Villa from Spain. We have Walt Snodgrass, who's the ambassador. We've got a whole bunch of Broncos, including Bob Miller and Brandon McManus, Buffalo Bills. So we got some sports people. And then we have people like Matt and Kevin Dillon, who have a nephew with Down syndrome. We have Johnson McGinley, who has a son with Down syndrome. Of course, we have Amanda Booth, who was recipient last year, a whole slew. And then we have these performances, beautiful special performances from Rachel Platten, and then Isaac Slade from The Fray and the Ransom Notes. So I think it's going to be beautiful, but virtual is tough. It's really tough, but yeah, it's going to be beautiful.
People watch this virtually.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, because we don't have the music rights beyond our event. This is kind of like one and done. Like if you want to see the whole thing, it's Saturday, November 14th. The VIP reception for table sponsors starts at 6 with a whole bunch of celebrities just hanging out in Zoom and a couple of performances. And then at 6:30 sharp, we'll start the show. And I think it'll be star-studded, but the 25 Miles with Down Syndrome will steal the show as usual.
That's so exciting. Good luck.
Thank you.
So how has the pandemic affected those with Down syndrome and their families?
Yeah, it's been really tough because, if you're high risk for COVID, then I think you're just more on edge. So then the people who get it, of course, are very scared. And then if they go into the hospital and they're an adult, they might be separated from anybody they know. And then maybe there's a lack of thriving because they're disoriented. So we're kind of working with other organizations to help intervene and provide the protective, personal protective equipment. So, and then the economic effect has been horrible. A lot of our adults do live under the poverty line, and getting them food and medical care and all that stuff has been overwhelming. So we're doing what we usually do, and then we're trying to protect people with Down syndrome from COVID. So it's been a rough year, but I think we've done a lot of good. I think we've helped a lot of people, and I think this fashion show will kind of make or break us, financially, and set us up for next year. So we hope people will come out and support us. We have new tickets; they're $25. Usually our tickets are $650 for the in-person event. Yeah, so this it's a big change. Yeah, so we hope it's really accessible to people and that they'll love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good luck. So how can we continue to make the world more inclusive?
Yeah. I do think, inclusion is kind of what it sounds like. It's like, how do we bring people with Down syndrome into the classroom so it's not just geography, and allow them to reach their potential? How do we create an inclusive medical environment? And that's why we created these guidelines, because a lot of clinicians don't know how to treat a patient with Down syndrome. So we need better education. How do we include them in the workforce? How do we include them in terms of assisted or semi-independent or independent living scenarios and kind of empower them? So much of it is, the good health. If without good health, you don't reach your potential. So that's why we concentrate on research and medical care.
Absolutely. That sounds awesome. Thank you. So this past Tuesday, Global announced their first ever evidence-based adult care guidelines for adults with Down syndrome, published by JAMA. What does this mean for those living with the condition?
It's really huge because I think the American Academy of Pediatrics does a great job on the children, but we haven't had these evidence-based medical care guidelines for adults. And we kind of fall off the map, after high school, like in so many ways, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities fall off the map, including those with Down syndrome. And this is one way that's really important because our medical issues change when they become adults. So it's really huge. The fact that they're in JAMA, which is the Journal of the American Medical Association, is so significant for us because in one fell swoop, I think the majority of clinicians around the US will look to JAMA to say, are there guidelines? And then they're more likely to comply with the guidelines because they're published in JAMA. So 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and the most amazing authors that represent the largest adult clinics from around the United States worked for 4 years with us on this. And it took a long time, but it was worth it because the quality is good enough to be in JAMA.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you and your team do amazing things. I love that. Thank you. So thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell everyone where they can find you and more information about Global?
Absolutely. We're at www.globaldownsyndrome.org. And then for the fashion show, it's www.bebeautifulbeyourself, and you can follow us, on the hashtag Global Down Syndrome or GDSF. We have about 200,000 social media followers. So, it's a fun group of people, and we need funds, of course, but we need volunteers. We need people to sign petitions. So there's so many ways to get involved with the Global Down Syndrome Foundation, including a lot of people with Down syndrome themselves who are great self-advocates.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Keep up with the good work and good luck in your fashion show.